Let's reflect now on yet another week of explosive testimony and drama as more witnesses appeared before Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee established to probe allegations of criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. The nation's top prosecutor, Advocate Shamila Batohi, made her highly anticipated appearance and indeed faced a grilling from committee members on the state of the National Prosecuting Authority and its ability or otherwise to tackle high-level corruption. Her testimony painted a bleak picture, with Batohi herself admitting to immense pressure and the perception that the state is powerless against organized crime. And the week's proceedings were not without controversy. The testimony of sidelined Police Minister Senzo Mchunu's Chief of Staff, Cedrick Nkabinde, quickly descending into chaos as committee members accused him of deliberately misleading them and then dramatically ejecting him from the sitting, ordering him to go rework his affidavit and come back later. And the fallout was immediate as the EFF proceeded to open a case of perjury against him following his admission that parts of his affidavit, believe it or not, were quote-unquote thumbsucked. So let's break it down then. The key moments from the testimonies of Advocate Shamila Batohi and Cedrick Nkabinde, with two guests, political analyst Dale McKinley and legal analyst Bophelo Seleke, who join me this afternoon. Good afternoon to the both of you. Let me start with you, Dale. Just an overall broad brush strokes. What stood out for you? We allude to the testimony of the NDPP, which in a way reflected her tenure, but also got to grapple with some of the current allegations around, the state and weaknesses in the NPA itself on the one hand. Then we had this testimony of Cedrick Nkabinde. What stood out for you?
Yeah, thanks to the Sizwe. I think what stood out for me was basically that our institutions have been compromised. Our institutions have been run down for such a long time that we were not, I don't think, aware of the state, the critical state that they're in. The NPA in particular, I mean, we can criticize it for particular kinds of things, but I think what came through in Batohi's testimony was that it's a very contested space. There are people in there that have particular agendas. There are people who are not doing their job or who are trying to basically undermine particular cases. I think with Cedrick Nkabinde's testimony, it indicates that we have serious problems with competency and capacity in certain departments, in particular, in this case, the Department of Police and Minister of Police. And I think the other general sort of picture that is being painted, which has been confirmed in this week's testimony, is that SABC is factionalized completely, that there are factions fighting each other, that they're undermining, and this is having a knock-on effect on a range of different kinds of cases, and also on the general ability of SABC to do its job.
Yeah, and Bophelo, what stood out for you? Towards the end, I think for me, there were two iconic moments. Just to jog your memory a bit, there was that moment around Shamila Batohi being pressed to reveal the name of the prosecutor who's come up in allegations of colluding with criminal syndicates, and she absolutely would not budge on the basis of constitutionalism and the principles at play. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you had that moment with Cedrick Nkabinde, where MPs, it really got to a point where it almost broke down and MPs were saying, we are stuck, we simply cannot continue with this kind of testimony. The quality of it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, Phyllis, what we've witnessed this week is not just political drama. For me, it's a constitutional stress test. I mean, between the 10th and the 14th of November, the Ad Hoc Committee has shown us something quite profound. When witnesses contradict themselves, when they evade questions and withhold information, it is not merely discourteous, it goes to the heart of Parliament's constitutional authority, that committees are not talk shops, they are constitutional enforcement mechanisms, and our law treats dishonesty before them as a direct attack on democratic accountability.
So say a bit more for me, Bophelo, about the institutions supporting democracy, the NPA being one of them. Shamila Batohi was despite acknowledging that there's a perception of powerlessness by the state, but she stood firm that the NPA, the work has gone in towards fixing the NPA, which, in her words, was decimated during the years of state capture. So to what extent was she able to deal with perception versus reality of the NPA and also grapple with her tenure, which in a way was also on trial before these proceedings?
I mean, the NPA sits at the center of the accountability ecosystem, Tulas. And under Section 179 of our Constitution, the NPA must do the following. It must function without fear, favor, or prejudice. It must uphold prosecutorial independence. It must institute criminal proceedings where the evidence supports it. But most importantly, it must support investigations that hold powerful individuals to account. But independence in this instance is not enough. It's the capacity conversation also that we must have. That the NPA of today struggles with severe skill shortages, a leadership pipeline that is, many commentators, but perhaps even officials within the organization have admitted to having been hollowed out during the state capture period. But backlogs in high complexity corruption cases or matters, and over-reliance on seconded investigators, and aging workforce. I mean, we could really to town to discuss the institutional challenges or the shortcomings of the NPA. However, I do want to underscore that by merely refusing to give the name of the perhaps compromised official within the institution, it may be legally defensible if a case is currently underway and the revelation of such a name would impact on the gains that have already been made, either at an investigative level or at a more advanced stage of the matter that is being investigated. So not all of what not coming to the party can immediately be seen to be not complying with the process. She's doing a balancing act in that instance where she needs to ensure that the work of the institution is not compromised, but also she must work with the accountability structures, which are oversight bodies, to ensure that the NPA complies.
All right, Bophelo, let me, with my apologies, I have to wrap it up at this point simply because there's a live event on the go that I do need to go to. So I've got to thank both of you, Dale and Bophelo, joining us with political analysis as well as legal analysis.